You're watching the Chucktown Wind Report Extended Weekend Outlook from Friday, October the 30th through Monday, November the 2nd. All right, so we have these couple of cold fronts that have been fanned out down below this occluding low pressure way up here in Canada. And as that low continues to exit off to the northeast, we should start to see these fronts really weaken today. You can already see this one's starting to fizzle out. This one's probably not going to have any effect on us. And we're seeing some residual showers this morning. It's a little after 5 a.m. It's about 5:15 right now. And some of these showers are lingering, but they'll be moving off the coast pretty soon. Things will be drying out as this high pressure starts to push down into the southeast region. Behind this boundary, we'll see a nice little northwest flow. We may see some modest 10 knot to low teens peaks this morning and then fading out this afternoon. And the winds, once they usually fade below 5 to 6 knots, sometimes we even get a little bit of a southerly sea breeze front that pushes onshore. So I can't rule that out of the picture, but I think winds are going to stay fairly light for the most part. We might see something near 10 knots on a southerly default sea breeze later this afternoon, or this northerly or northwesterly flow could prevail with this high pressure. As this high moves to the east, we'll see a setup to our north where we get this northeast wind starting to build down tomorrow. So we're going to see clocking winds going from northwest to north to northeast to east-northeast as we get into Saturday, with some residual troughing off of that weak cold front offshore. We're looking to possibly see some 14 to 18 or 15 to 19 knot winds. That's what I'm betting on. The models, some of the models are not going very aggressive at this. In fact, they're holding them on the lower end. But we know that Charleston in particular, with the backdoor sea breezing effect, we do tend to see a few extra knots from that with the temperature gradient between the warmth of the land and the cooler air that's going to be coming down off these east-northeasterlies. And that will build our winds. So I'm going to say for today we're going to stay right around 10 knots or below, maybe a pulse or two from that northwest morning flow, the post-frontal flow. And then as we get into Saturday, we're looking at, we could do 15 to 19 knots for Saturday, maybe some pulses up into the 20s. And then as we get into Sunday, it gets really tricky with the forecast. This area of low pressure, these several little low pressures are going to be coming together as one large upper level low that travels along this boundary right here. And what that's going to do is it heads east. It's going to be coming across the Gulf states. It's going to be drawing up lots of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and up into the southeast region. So if we look at the 5-day totals from NOAA's WPC models, we see a lot of this activity, the swath of activity being drawn in this area. However, if this low pressure meanders a little bit further to the east, which I think it will, we may even get a kink of low pressure develop over South Carolina. I think we're going to be in the window for some of this heavier rain, maybe in the 4 to 5 inch ranges along our coastline. So we're going to have to watch this day to day to see where that low pressure tracks as it comes straight across the Gulf states and aims towards the southeast and draws up that southerly flow ahead of it. Okay, so let's take a look at the visible imagery, and we can see our cold front boundary right here coming across the Tennessee Valley. The next one, it's a very dry and weak one. The one that's on our shore right now is here. It's heading offshore now, and we see all the drier air behind it. So that northwest wind from the high pressure associated with it here. That's what I was talking about for today. Now our upper level low is coming together. You can see some of the spin in the upper atmosphere here, and that's going to be coming across Texas and the Gulf states. So that's the one to watch for Sunday and into Monday. It's a slow mover and probably will not clear the coastline until sometime midday or afternoon Monday. Let's take a look at Datascope. You see some of the rain scatter early this morning, and a lot of this is scatter on radar, but you can see some offshore, some of the offshore cells developing with the rain over the Gulf Stream, where they tend to fire up over the warmer waters a little bit more, and then we see some of those residual showers traversing the area now. Let me go ahead and deactivate the radar, and let's take a look at the winds for the area. So right now we see this post-frontal flow is already starting to show up in the Charleston area, and the beaches are land shuttered from this direction, so we see lower knots, lower speeds overall. But right now we have 9 knots in the harbor, and it looks like we're starting to see those little pulses. So those low teens pulse post-frontal winds look like they may start to show this morning. If we look at all of our models for the area, a high resolution rapid refresh keeps this northwest wind all through the day and actually keeps it strong enough from those default sea breezes from taking over. As we drop below 5 and 6 knots, typically we could see what I like to call our southerly default sea breeze develop, where the winds become so light that the land and sea interaction allows for a sea breeze front to push ashore, and winds actually turn south by default. That doesn't mean we'll have a sea breeze build today. It just means we have a very mild, sometimes we can get up to near 10 knots on that sea breeze. And with an opposing northerly wind, it doesn't really give it a chance to do very much unless there's convection inland and we get on our normal sea breeze track. So if it does turn south, I'm expecting it to stay below 10 knots. However, if we stay on the north end, we'll probably see those low teens pulses fade out to upper single digits and stay that way right on through nighttime. Okay, so look at the models for Friday. It keeps us to the north. You can see those winds clocking over slowly and right on into Saturday, where they're all pretty much in agreement for this east-northeast flow to develop tomorrow. Now we get into that backdoor sea breeze effect along our coastline, and the land that's warmer meets the ocean that's cooler, and we get a temperature gradient between, and that's how we get our stronger accelerated winds right down the middle of these two air masses. So that's the models are not going, looks like they're not going very aggressive at this. Most of them are taking the winds right around 10 knots. However, I'm betting with that high pressure building to our north, at 1024 millibars or higher, we're going to see a much higher flow than what these models are depicting right now. So I'd say I still am keeping a 15 to 19 knot flow. Now as we get into Sunday, with all that moisture coming in cold front boundaries and low pressure system, everything coming together in the southeast, it looks like it's going to be very messy. We could see Sunday morning winds come up to 15 to 20 knot thresholds, but then it's going to get squashed down by some heavier widely scattered rains and thunderstorms, and that should go on through Monday morning and into Monday afternoon, where if the cold front pushes through by the afternoon, we'll see a modest westerly flow behind it post-frontal. All right, if we look at the tropics, we're not done with the tropics yet. There is a small area way over here just to the west of the Cape Verde Islands that the National Hurricane Center is watching. And you can see there's a lot of upper level shear from the southwest to the northeast. And you can see the cloud tops being blown off over here. And look at the National Hurricane Center. They're only giving it a 10% chance for the next 48 hours and 10% for the next 5 days. So tropics looking very weak right now. Lots of upper level shear. It is that time of the year, but the hurricane season does not end until November the 30th. So we continue to watch the tropics. And that will do it for the Chucktown Wind Report. Thanks for watching.